Could go get new hairstyle in the time we get started.
Sorry. I'm just trying to think of like what the transition is like.
Okay,
all right.
like this, looking like this, I look kind of creepy.
No, you're a beautiful man. No matter what, don't let anyone tell you different.
This is all going to be perfect for the first show of the year.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
The Nightcap Chat Podcast. Your home for pop culture related nonsense. Only on the Nightcap Chat Network. Grab your nightcap and settle in. Here are your hosts.
Nightcap Chat is back, and we got a new intro. Today we're going to be talking about all the pop culture related things that we enjoyed while we were on hiatus. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Ken Brown.
I'm Lance O'Neill.
And I'm Steve O'Neill. Good to be back.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for everyone for the new intro. And of course, before we dive into it, I just want to thank everyone for listening, sharing, and subscribing to Nightcap Chat on the Nightcap Chat Network. And if you are, since you're subscribed to the Nightcap Chat Network, you may or may not have noticed that there's a new show on the Nightcap Chat Network, which is what the channel is named. The show is called Ink and Paint. Steve, why don't you just tell everybody real quick what Ink and Paint is?
Thank you. That was a very subtle jab at the intro of the show. Not a jab. Sorry, introduction. Jay and I do a Disney-related show on here, Ink and Paint. The first one was a pilot. Then we went over park-related news, stuff we're watching on Disney+. And then the last one was a special about the Book of Boba Fett, where we had a special guest star come in, and we went over pretty much every freaking moment of the show. It wasn't intended to be like that, but the conversation was so good that we did it anyway. So I thought we broke down the show, but we're going to just keep on going over Disney stuff. So we have some cool stuff coming up soon. Our next show is going to be jam-packed with park-related stuff, what's happening in Disney Plus, controversies like what is happening with what's his name? It's just crazy. There's so much nonsense with Snow White coming out. It doesn't even remotely make sense. It's absolutely a joke. So go listen to the next one just to see what's happening. Everything in Disney World, that's what we're covering.
And we're really glad to have added our first show to the Nightcap Chat Network. That is at Nightcap Chat. So more to come, hopefully. So hopefully there are a few things in the works here. But yes, Nightcap Chat's back. We had a almost 2-month-long hiatus. And of course, during those 2 months, we've been consuming all kinds of pop culture on comic books, video games, movies, TV shows, I guess, and more. It remains to be seen. We've kept what we're talking about here a secret from each other. So it'll be interesting to see what everyone brings up. I see you're smiling here.
All kinds of fun stuff going on. I mean, I don't know if you want to dive right in or keep on going, but dude, I'm more than willing to wait until we are good to go on what is the jumping in point.
No, let's go. We're going right now.
Okay. Well, as I said, there's all kinds of stuff going on right now: comics, movies, TV. I mean, even the Super Bowl halftime show. I got to say, I was probably the most entertained watching a Super Bowl that was the commercials and the halftime show was better than the game itself, with all due respect to Rams fans and Bengals fans. But that halftime show was nails. Said too, is like that. I had no problem with it. It was fun to watch. It was something that was not what I expected for a halftime show, having that many performers, and it did kind of work really well together.
I wasn't a huge fan, but Ken, you know what I liked was that they didn't do the thing where they flooded the field with people. They built a really cool, it looked like studio apartments, which was a cool thing. Instead of them flooding it with 1,000 fans, I thought it was cool that they had dancers down there instead. So it was cool to look at. I was a little bit bored by the entire 4 hours of whatever the Super Bowl was. I didn't care about the game and whatever, but I did enjoy that section of it. You're right. The halftime part, I thought it was a cool set design.
Yeah, I said too, this was probably the most boring Super Bowl I've ever watched. And I know I said once again, if it was just a defensive struggle, I mean, they've had other defensive struggles in Super Bowls before too, but it just felt like that. I had no interest in either team, which was really kind of frustrating. And but overall, you got to watch Super Bowl. So it's something I do as I said too, a trait. Whether it's the World Series like you guys, it's like doesn't matter who's in it. You're watching the World Series. If I'm correct.
This was also the year's the most expensive 30-second ads in the history of the Super Bowl, which is obviously every year it goes up and up and up. So every year is going to be the highest. But I thought it was an interesting trend this year. You could see sort of some weird commercials. Did you guys do the thing where you put the USB and took the picture on the phone and just found out it was a crypto ad for that 30 seconds where it was bouncing around the screen like an old DVD menu? Did you guys do that or no?
I didn't watch Super Bowl on it.
Yeah.
What's a Super Bowl? Is this like a giant bowl that you guys are watching in the kitchen or something?
Yeah.
It's actually the largest soup you can make, and it's a competition you see on the Food Network.
See, I don't like soup. Soup is like overrated.
Super Bowl.
You were just eating rice and chicken. That's like a main ingredient in most soups. You got to get onto the soup train, man.
Yeah, I just eliminate the water out of it.
No,
the garbage.
No moisture.
Yeah, like I just.
Yeah, the commercials are like Campbell's and Progressive.
Yep,
and,
a lot of Progressive ads.
Yes.
What about a hearty chili, Lance? What do you think?
Isn't it Progresso?
It's Progresso, not Progressive. Yeah.
No, there's Progressive ads.
Yeah, but when he was trying to name soups.
So close. No, but
I'm trying to give my man the benefit of the doubt here.
They decided to put in the $10 million just to advertise during the Super Bowl competition.
Got it. So, I mean, I watched the Super Bowl too. I found it wildly boring. I was really watching it for one movie trailer that they released the morning of, so I didn't care anymore. So we just kind of had it on the background. It was one of the least entertaining Super Bowls I've ever seen in my entire life. And no, like, slight to anybody. I just didn't really care about any of it. So, and again, I was only watching it for one movie trailer and they released it early. So.
And then like that. So that was the Super Bowl season because that happened during the time off, and you can't not touch on the Super Bowl because it is a major part of pop culture, whether everybody likes it or not. It's there, and it's become a pop culture event in a lot of ways.
No joke.
Even though some people would still argue it's like, nah, not important enough in pop culture, but it is a pop culture phenomenon in its own way.
Agreed. I would agree with you, Ken. You can't ignore it. The celebrities that are there, the nonsense that's promoted during it, the nonsense after it, the nonsense the week beforehand. It is a huge event. And I think it's the most watched TV event all year, every year, no matter what. So it's definitely, I would say, whether or not you give a crap about it, it is very much a pop culture event.
So yes, I mean, the Super Bowl is definitely one of the more iconic things that has occurred during our hiatus.
I know that Ken and I have been watching the same thing. And we were supposed to come with some homework. I came with two, but one of them I knew already Ken was going to touch on. So I don't think you guys are watching it, but if you're not watching Peacemaker on HBO, you are missing out because it is absolutely fantastic.
James Gunn, if you like Guardians of the Galaxy, he totally brings on the Guardians of the Galaxy element of the music. Even Eagly, is totally Groot in its own way. I realized, like, after watching Peacemaker, James Gunn's formula is like nails formulaic after whatever word I just made up there, but it's got a formula you can tell by watching everything he does.
It is, but it's also very James Gunnish, which has a lot of heart. And the finale episode is kind of devastating emotionally. So while the mission is accomplished, is it a happy ending? Who the hell knows where it's going to go? And I look forward to another season of it. James Gunn did say he is done with movies after Guardians 3, which he is in the very end state of production right now, because everybody has more fun filming a TV series. The crew, the actors and the directors and filmmakers have more fun, and it's an easier storytelling trope to do stressful. Yeah. And he says he's all done. He's done with making motion pictures, and this is the future. So this is the highest rated DC thing outside of the Dark Knight trilogy. The highest rated. And number two is his Suicide Squad. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Dude, Lance, Lance, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying that it's wildly good and it's fun and sweet. There are sad moments and sweet moments and funny moments. And D. Bradley Baker. Blake, D. Bradley Baker, can you please tell me this is a fellow voice actor? Not to me, but to D. Bradley Baker, who is like the Oscar-winning voiceover of all time. He does the voice of an eagle, Why
Yeah,
would they
I couldn't
need?
believe that was
Why
a
would they
voiceover.
need him to do the voice of an eagle when he's just an eagle? Why
No,
would
I
they
mean-
take like stock eagle sounds?
I mean, I just want to not invite the comparison that like I am nowhere near the voice actor or success.
You
of
were in the
someone
same
like
industry,
D.
though.
Sure, but like barely. I mean, you're comparing. I don't even know. But
I kind of feel like you're being ultra modest. I've heard what you can do, and you're freaking fantastic. But I hear you. I hear you. You're comparing yourself to the Oscar winning whatever. But
I appreciate what you're saying, but I am nowhere near D. Belly. Anyway, you know what's interesting? I mean, like something like that is such an incredibly difficult thing. Off the top of my head, there's a video game called Overwatch, and they released a quote controversial character a couple of years ago, named, everyone calls him Hammond. I'm trying to think of the character's name. It's Wrecking
the
Ball.
little gerbil
Wrecking
you're talking
Ball.
about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a gerbil. It's a giant gerbil in a giant ball, and it just comes and like wrecks you. You know, it's the stupidest character. It is so stupid. I hate this character with a passion. But I saw behind the scenes that there was, I don't know who the voice actor was. They're making this little hamster sounds, and I watched him do it into the mic, and it's fascinating to watch. And like I even tried to emulate it, and just, my goodness, you know, to be able to make sounds like that is, you know, it's a lot of practice and training. It's just incredible. And I have not watched Peacemaker, but I do think that's interesting.
I would go through and listen, Blade, because again, Sarah and I have watched it. We've watched the last 2 episodes 3 times. I think they're that good.
Already?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. It's beautiful what he put together. I know you guys aren't fans, but on a storytelling sort of line and linear thing, he put together something amazing. I had no interest. I had no interest in this.
Me neither. That's the thing too. Like I took customers at the store tell me how good this was, and I finally said, "Okay, you know what? I'll give it a shot." And then I'm saying, "Oh my gosh, this is
you
gold."
get sucked in. But Blake, to bring it back, I'm so curious. I would love for you to look up like a clip reel, because why would they need the A-list of all voice actor people to make the sound of an eagle? That's the thing that we've literally been talking about for the past week, because it makes no sense. Why would you do that?
Well, how do you sit there and record an eagle? You know, you're
there's got to be stock footage of eagles somewhere that you could just put in, right?
But you're right. But to my point, you know, I mean, if this eagle is a character with certain performances, if you sat there and recorded an eagle, you could only get it to do so many things and do whatever. If you have a voice actor who's can emulate the sounds of an eagle, and you can adjust these different sounds to the various situations and make it work really well. You can't sit there and force this eagle to make the sounds you want it, you know, besides the fact that they're like endangered or whatever they are now protected.
Then Ken will admit then this is a freaking Oscar-worthy performance, because I mean, the last episode, he just like it's a really funny moment where he's just making little eagle sounds while trying to pick up a helmet. Like, I mean, like, why did they need him to do it? But they chose the best person to do it. Either way, I think the show is wildly fun, incredibly deep, and very James Gunn.
So I haven't really watched it, but from what I've heard from other people was that the eagle really takes it away. Like he really like almost steals, like whenever he's on there, it's great.
He does. Well, he's kind of the baby Groot, to be honest. The last episode, there's a very baby Groot moment where, if you remember in Guardians 2, they're like, don't push this button. Do not push this button. That same moment is pretty much in the new thing, except it's, I would say, maybe funnier, because it's a stupid eagle that has been hyped up for 7 episodes about being a part of this group. And he does something hilarious. And I was peeing my pants. But you're not wrong. When he's on there, Eagly is incredible. But he's not in there very much. It's the rest of them. And they have some intense dialogue.
Oh my gosh, dude. The chemistry they have as a crew is equally as good as Guardians of the Galaxy crew.
I agree.
Like,
and
Vigilante, the quotes that guy says. I mean, I never cared about the Vigilante in DC history since he first appeared in Teen Titans Annual #2 way back in the day, that nobody even remembers his first appearance until this TV show comes out. And it was the perfect buddy how would you say it, dude? Like Dumb and Dumber type of superhero TV series that was gold. And it was just, as I said too, it's like it was a combination of Guardians of the Galaxy and Dumb and Dumber in a way that was just so enjoyable. And I feel like I'm downplaying by comparing it to Dumb and Dumber, but it was just, you know, the friendship of like Vigilante and Peacemaker. It was a one-sided friendship, but it was a perfect friendship in a weird way. Do you know what I mean? And it was just shown like that. You have to be understanding of people no matter what their background is. And sometimes it's life's not easy, and trying to overcome what you're supposed to be versus what you are. And it's just so many things going on in that show. That's just it's James Gunn gold. I mean, he loves people, and you can tell when he writes his stories, there's a lot of feeling and emotion in everything that he writes. And that was Peacemaker to a core character that nobody cares about. You know what I mean? Outside of this John Cena Suicide Squad movie, and then pushing it forward. I'm glad it wasn't a retro. I thought it was gonna be a retro story. I like, you know, spoiler alert, that this does take place after Suicide Squad. I'm not gonna say how, but you have to watch the show to see how it does play out. But it's definitely worth a watch. And yeah, we're probably over talking it so much, Steve, that people are going to say, "Yeah, you overhyped it, and it's not as good as I thought it was." But I think it's a golden show if you give it a chance. What it is.
I have a question, specifically, probably for Ken. I haven't watched Peacemaker, and I am not going to watch Peacemaker. But the question I'm about to ask Ken is a problem I do have with them. And Peacemaker, and I am genuinely curious. I think this is a good talking point. So I mean, you guys like it, and that's cool. I've seen some clips though, and especially at the end, and this will be a spoiler alert, so maybe skip ahead a minute if you don't want to hear about the end of Peacemaker. But I saw the big reveal at the end with cameos. And I also saw some other things in the first few episodes. You know, he was saying like F Batman, you know, Batman doesn't, you know, kill people. And he was saying these things in a very crass way. I mean, how does you guys think it's okay for Peacemaker to be like this crass human, and like he's, you know, ripping apart Batman, and you're having Aquaman say these things and what he does with fish? Like doesn't that just like undo what DC's doing and taking those characters seriously, especially Batman and Aquaman?
I think Peacemaker feels like he wants to be them in that story, and at first he resents the fact that he's not, and like he has no filters. That's like that character. The way that James Gunn wrote him is like that. He wants to be a superhero. He calls himself a superhero, yet he doesn't. I think he struggles with inside himself. He knows that he is not at that level, and he feels he can be at that level, but he doesn't know how to get there. And that's what this kind of show shows, is like that the effect of him taking those steps to legitimize himself as a worthwhile person to himself and to the superhero world, because he's got like a guilty conscience about something that happened in his personal life back when he was a kid, that he's carried with him as baggage through the whole show. And it kind of, not about halfway through the season, they revealed what happened, which is, you know, the baggage of his upbringing, and the fact of like he's going to let that baggage go. And that's what the main thing I think Steve's hinting at the beauty of the show is, everybody's got baggage they got to let go of sometimes, and that's how you grow. And he grew as a superhero. Then at the end with the Justice League appearance, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, that you're talking about, is the Justice League showed up. He finally got to the point of like where they didn't need the Justice League. They were able to accomplish what they needed to do without the Justice League's help, even though last minute the Justice League was there to back him up anyway. And I think a lot of the things he was saying about those characters were his, how would you say it, his insecure coping with the fact of what he wants to be is something he'll never be, because of how much of a level they are higher than he is in his mind. Like when they were talking in the classroom at the school, that just kind of cracked me up, dude, because it kept on going on to the fact of like, aren't you so and so, or aren't you not even a real superhero? I can't remember the exact quotes.
I
You know
can't.
the
I can't.
superhero in the last 4 kids, and yet the kids didn't respect them either.
I can't remember the quotes. I just thought it was wildly sweet. I know what you're saying, and the end part that you're kind of singling out like almost 1% of what the motion of the show was, and maybe if you're reading, a breakdown of it, that's what you choose from it, or that's what the focus was. I thought that part you're talking about was funny because they kind of showed that they didn't need these other people to come and help them. They figured it out on their own, and it was more like an "fu." We did this on our own.
Yeah, and I respect that. Like, I didn't like hearing like Aquaman say profanities like that, especially within that context. I thought it was inappropriate, and like you have like little kids who really like Aquaman, and just like I'm not a prude or anything, but like it just didn't seem correct or appropriate for the character, and especially the way Flash sort of helped instigate it as well.
Yeah, and you have a good point there, except for the fact that if that was the first obscene thing that they did, then I could see you being a little more bummed out. The very first second of this show is as R-rated as it gets. It is not meant for kids. And
I'm not. Absolutely. And I'm not talking about within the context of the show. I don't care if the whole show is profane, but Justice League is PG-13 characters. I mean, like there's kids who are going to want to see that, like, oh, Aquaman's my favorite. I want to see that, and just to hear him doing whatever with fish, it
was a tongue-in-cheek joke, by the way. I mean, even he said, he was like, that's never happened. And then the Flash goes, I even heard that too. And that was literally the end of it. It was, to me, I laughed, and I thought that, what's his name? I forget his name, Aquaman. And then the Flash doing it. I thought that was kind of a cool thing that they kind of agreed. But your point is valid, Blade. I don't disagree.
Point,
I just wanted to hear what you guys had to say, because I thought it was just so wildly inappropriate.
It fits in the tone of the show. It didn't even remotely off-put it. To me, I took a wildly different thing. I thought that the show was full of some seriously deep tones, which is why I thought that you might like it. But your point is valid. They do sort of break that fourth wall, I guess you could say, on that. Not everybody is PG-13. And even if it's Aquaman, they're going to say some crazy crap and, have these things and, whatever. But I didn't mind it. I most definitely didn't mind it. I actually thought it fit in with kind of the world that we're in today. It makes a lot of sense to hear people say that. So as a matter of fact, I felt it kind of relevant. If you're a superhero group today, people are going to say this insane crap. And the way that it was dealt with, I thought was very humanistic. If you take that, I heard that they said that you did the same thing, blah, 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 whatever you're going to take it. I thought it worked very well. And again, it solidifies to me that James Gunn knows what he's doing, and he can humanize alien characters that you never even remotely thought you would, associate with, but you do. And at the end of the day, when the show ends, you hurt for like 5 of these characters and you feel for all of them, which is why I think he's so good. But long and short, Ken and I both agree it's a wildly fun show. I'm a little bit off-put, Blade. I think you would genuinely dig the show. I think it's that good that the humor, the story that it tells is wildly different.
I refuse. I hated Peacemaker in James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. I didn't care for James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie. And
you wouldn't like this then, if that's your thing.
Yeah, and I think Peacemaker does not need his own show, regardless if it's good, because obviously it was all stuff that James Gunn just made up anyway, which I'm not saying is bad, but like it wasn't necessary.
Good for John Cena. That boy can't act his way out of the bag, and he has a career now. So I think it actually probably helped him. Like it's like this guy can't act, but we could probably do some crazy stupid stuff, and it'll work because he can't act. But people will think it's on purpose.
So
you thought his acting was that bad, Steve? After watching that show, I really thought he was a better actor than The Rock.
Okay,
and I know that's like a comparison.
No. I agree. I agree with Ken. I completely agree with Ken.
Why?
Okay, so because first of all, I watched the show. First of all, I don't think this conversation exists because you guys refuse to watch it.
That's fair, but
I just
Yeah,
but
I
wait a
kind of
second.
feel like it doesn't count. But I will say I
Steve.
agree with Ken wholeheartedly. I am
shows
not-
rings in the back of the building.
I'll change your opinion right now. Anything I've seen enough clips of this, and I saw what John Cena did in Suicide Squad with James Gunn. This is not a testament to John Cena's acting ability. Is it a testament to James Gunn's directing ability?
Yeah,
It
I
is
would agree
not
with that.
John Cena. He did well because of James
Okay.
Gunn was
No,
able to make it work well. I don't think it
I'm
has
gonna
anything
agree-
to do with his
I'm
acting.
going to literally now agree with both of you because you just had a very good point. You nailed it. But also, I am not a huge The Rock fan. As a matter of fact, I think he's the same in every freaking thing he just plays himself. There were some dark moments that I don't necessarily think that a regular
Rock
actor
can
could
execute.
portray very well, especially The Rock. I do not think so. But you're not wrong. James Gunn has pulled insane performances out of nobodies like Dave Bautista and background characters, including a Rocket Raccoon performance where he wasn't even on stage, but they made him heartbreaking. So very good point, Blade. I do think that it was great and I loved what he did. And I personally can't handle seeing him at all. I detest what's his name? The Peacemaker, whose name I just blanked right now.
John Cena.
John Cena. I think he's horrible.
Yeah.
I think he looks like the back of your thumb. I don't understand at all the appeal in this human being, yet in this show, it worked. So I do have to give him credit where credit's due. I thought it was great, but you're very right. He can pull out amazing performances. From
I think the biggest thing is where
One
it
last
goes from
thing
here.
too.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, one last thing too, between the Suicide Squad performance and the Peacemaker TV show performance, there was 10 times more depth to his character.
Not even close.
Inside
No,
the Peacemaker TV
Ken,
show
that's
compared
not
to
even
Suicide
fair.
Squad.
10 is not even remotely close. It's a thumbnail. It's a Cliff Notes version of what he did in the show.
Yeah.
You have to give it more credit. They went into some dark PTSD, family abuse kind of crap and stuff like that should not have been touched, but they did. And if you know James Gunn, he goes into that because he lived literally through some of that shit and he did a pretty good job of showing what it's like. So again, I'm not a fan of John Cena, but seeing what he did.
But I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to compare the Suicide Squad Peacemaker versus
it's
the
not
Peacemaker
it's not a
TV
good
show,
comparison.
I mean, there's no depth they
No.
gave him inside of the movie. I mean,
And
he
Blake,
was
that's
like
why-
a plastic doll inside of the movie. Inside the
And that's
TV
why-
show,
yeah.
he felt human.
And that's why I didn't want to watch the show. Is because I
me
hated the
neither.
Peacemaker and Suicide Squad. I'm like, why am I going to watch this?
Yeah,
And
had
then I
no
started
interest in
watching. I'm like,
it.
oh,
Justin
this is why.
told me.
Yeah. So anyway, long and short, I know neither of you are going to watch it, but they're making season 2.
I might watch it.
I would do anything for you to give it a shot. I would pay your HBO subscription for a calendar year.
Oh, it's on HBO. I don't have HBO.
I'll pay your
I have
subscription. Log into my account.
I have a login. It'll be fine. We're not.
Oh,
How about I legitimately pay for your subscription for a
no,
calendar
no,
year
no,
for your
I'm
opinion?
not going to do that. No,
that's everything.
I
will be
will
okay.
watch it, and I'll give you my opinion for free.
That's good. I genuinely think it's good enough for you to give it a shot. I would not. I know Blade's opinion on recommending stuff, and ask him in my text thread. I will never recommend something unless I'm positive that.
And
it
you
will
know
have some
what?
sort of a good output.
You recommended. I don't even.
Belfast.
And I saw
I
the
recommended
trailer.
Belfast.
I saw the
And-
trailer. I'm intrigued. So I think actually
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
It's
It's got my
only
girl.
Oscar
It's
movie
got my girl.
I know. She's fucking fantastic. So I don't tread lightly with the recommendations, but this one I
And
strongly recommend.
By the way, I don't know if we've talked about recommending things to me on Nightcap Chat before. And
God.
it's
You just
not.
don't do it.
Steve is overly cautious, I think. I'm a voice actor and producer, and so like I sit here and I watch things all the time, and I have to watch the same things over and over, and I'm my career has just been being forced to watch things. So like it's not that recommend whatever you want anytime, and that's fine. Like what I don't like is just having something shoved in my face and like sit here and watch this right now at this moment, because like I watch things all the time. Like I have to watch things. Like send me something, like I will watch it.
Give me my time. I get
Eventually,
that. And
like-
that's why I tread very lightly. So
don't
when I
like-
told you about
I just don't like being
Belfast,
sat here to like be forced to watch this right here, right now.
Blake, just so we're clear, when I recommended Belfast, there was a small conversation with Sarah before I text that. I'm like, should I tell Blade? Because it meets every criteria. And she goes, he's going to hate it. And I'm like, what do you mean? It meets every criteria and it's an Oscar nominee. Maybe he'll actually care. And she goes, this shit is on you. And I'm like, all right, here we go. I mean, everyone knows you don't shove a phone with a trailer in front of your face. So I get that, but I actually think that this is a worthwhile viewing.
I want to look. It
recommend
looks interesting. I love Judi Dench, and it's got some good Irish history. I'm not sure what the tone is from the trailer. I don't know how serious or the trailer confused me, but that's okay. I assume.
And we are talking Belfast, by the way, not back to Peacemaker. We're talking. I recommended the film Belfast, which is directed by Kenneth Branagh, and it's an Irish.
And I love Kenneth Branagh. I mean, like Kenneth Branagh can like almost do no wrong. Like I love it.
So
Kenneth Branagh. He does a lot of good Shakespeare movies.
This was on my list, on my criteria. Was the movie good? Was it Irish? Was it too hipster? Was Kenneth Branagh? Was Liam Neeson in it? Sadly, Liam Neeson was the one part that was like, Sarah was like, Liam Neeson's not in it. Don't recommend it. I'm like, okay, all right, shit. I'm not.
But it has Judi Dench. I love
yeah, but
Judi
she's
Dench.
so good.
Gosh, you were talking the other day, like I said, like I watched Nightmare Alley, and it wasn't good at all, even though it had a phenomenal cast. And I was like, and who would leave Rooney Mara for
we disagreed on this. Kate Blanchett, and you were like, you would drink Kate Blanchett's bathwater. Like I would drink Judi Dench's bathwater. Family for Kate Blanchett in a second.
No
I would leave my entire life for 5 minutes with Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett is
no one listens to this show. It doesn't matter. My family doesn't listen to this. It doesn't care. They don't care.
Kate Blanchett is a phenomenal actress, and that's about it.
All right.
I love Rooney Mara. She's awesome. I wish she had more of a part because she was just kind of like, oh, man. I don't even know. Anyway, I'm not talking about this stupid movie because it sucked. Lance.
By the way, it's a Guillermo del Toro movie that sucked.
I know. And, that was one of the appeals. And I was like, Guillermo del Toro is an awesome director. So
I was going to say, wow, who directed it? Because they should never direct again. But I guess it just didn't work.
You know what? I'll tell you, I think Blade and I are in the minority on this because it is nominated for like 9 Oscars.
I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
It does. You guys are so reverse hipsters. You're like trying to be like the uncool.
It hasn't meant anything in like 20 years. Like, give me a break.
To you guys,
mean anything.
to other people,
it doesn't mean
movies. But you guys hate everything in the world.
That's not
anyway.
true. I don't put me in Blade's nonsense.
Territory. But I'll tell you. It matters to me because I like to see if anything I made this year, like that made an impact on me, made the cut. And most of the time it doesn't. But this one was a bbig miss, Blade. It was a big miss. I don't think it should have been in here. And he won for Shape of Water 3 years ago, which was my favorite movie of the year. This is I hated this movie. I hated it.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on this.
Phenomenal cast too. Like William Dafoe. What's his name who plays Rocket? Bradley Cooper, Kate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, Ron Perlman,
Richard Jenkins plays the bad guy.
Gosh,
and
he was great. Yeah. My gosh, he's unrecognizable in this role. I've never seen him with a beard. He looked like my grandpa, which was
my
weird.
God, how creepy is he with a beard and hair?
So
weird.
He looks like Lance just left, but he looks like
he's so sick of this conversation.
And
no.
Gosh, and Richard Jenkins is the guy from Step Brothers. He's the dad in Step Brothers. He is unrecognizable.
Okay. Just so we're clear, he's on my top 5 favorite actors of all time, and he is my number 1 B-list actor of all time. No one knows who Richard Jenkins is unless you point out who he is and like, oh my God, he's my favorite in these 5 movies. He's fantastic.
You know what's funny is I auditioned for this play a few years back. And we had to have a serious monologue, which I always have Shakespeare like on lockdown for a serious monologue. But we had to have a funny monologue. And I was thinking like, what's a funny monologue? And then I was thinking like, I love Step Brothers. Like, is there something out there? And I realized Richard
Yes.
Jenkins has a monologue at the end of Step Brothers
Yeah.
about not losing your inner dinosaur. He talks about how when he was a kid, more than anything in the world, he wanted to grow up and be a T-Rex. And this monologue is just, it's funny, but it's deep. And it's just,
dude, you gave me the chills just now, Blade. I know the exact one.
It's
Give your dinosaur
awesome.
back. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh my
but
God. Nice.
It's phenomenal. As stupid as that movie Step Brothers is, and I don't even like movies like that. Step Brothers is just such a slept on movie, and Richard Jenkins in particular is great in that movie.
Damn.
Anyway.
Well done. He would love hearing this because everyone else talks about his Oscar shit, not that.
No, like that's a hidden gem, I think, for sure. But Lance, you haven't talked about anything that you have been consuming related to pop culture.
I think I'm going to mention something that our listeners probably been waiting for us to talk about, and we all have seen it, so we all can participate.
Oh, here we go.
No one has anything bad to say about it. Spider-Man.
Yes. I have bad things to say about it.
Oh my God!
my God.
Come on, wait.
The only bad thing, I know the bad thing. Can I call it out? The only bad thing is the fact that when we saw the private screening, Lance had to leave early. That's the only thing you could say that was bad about it, because that is absolute. It was my favorite movie of the year. And there were some really good movies last year. And come on, Blade.
Okay, so in all seriousness, it was way better than I anticipated. It is definitely one of the greatest Marvel movies of all time. They did a phenomenal job incorporating the multiverse, making Toby and Andrew's alternate universes a legitimate alternate universe. That was phenomenal. Only it's very nitpicky, but I think like the worst part about Spider-Man No Way Home, and let's just get this out of the way, is the fact that going forward here, because Tom Holland's Spider-Man being within the MCU is fantastic. Like, it's a dream come true. And I just think it kind of sucks that he doesn't get his own Green Goblin, his own Electro, his own Gwen Stacy, his own Mary Jane, really, if you want to be technical.
Right, yet? Are you saying
There's the
yet?
beauty to that, though, too.
Yes, you're 100% right. But flip side of that coin, the way he got William Dafoe's Green Goblin and the whole thing at the end, and they did it with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2, because when in the comic books, when Green Goblin kills Gwen Stacy, Spider-Man goes into this like rage and almost like beats Green Goblin to death. And we got that from William Dafoe and Tom Holland when he kills Aunt May. He goes into this rage, like he is going to kill him. And though it is different, I mean, it's arguably right out of the comics. And although it happened to Toby, he was able to get in there and step in like, hey, I've been in your shoes. Like he has messed with me to the core. Like, you will regret going through with this, you know? So looking back and taking this as its own universe, brilliant adaptation. So like, even those complaints don't even matter because of how well executed it was.
Plus, I kind of disagree with them anyway, because you still have yet to see what happens next. He could still get a Green Goblin. He could still now, and it leaves open. Forget about, they did Mary Jane. Mary Jane sucks. They did Gwen Stacy sucks. It's time for Felicia Hardy. They keep the best for last. He's going to get his Felicia Hardy, and it's going to be phenomenal. Okay. He's going to get his Hobgoblin, and it's
Lance,
Green Goblin, and it's going to be phenomenal.
Lance, every girl that showed up in that movie, I kept on thinking like, oh my God, is this going to be her? Is this going to be her? Is there going to be a post-credit scene? Is it going to be her? So just to throw it down there, you guys, this is the 6th highest income producing film of all time. And it came out during COVID, where 50% of the states are only allowing 40% of the people into the theaters. It has made $1.8 billion. Did I call that shit when tickets went on sale like in November? Yeah, I did. So, I mean, it is crushing. Every week something new comes out and it's like, oh, this is number 1. What happens the next week? Nope, Spider-Man just took it over again. People are still seeing it in theaters today. So it is still
amazing.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a great story, and I loved every second of it.
The rewatchability on it, it's like 110%.
Yeah.
I've never seen a movie more rewatchable in all of my times of watching movies than this one. Of like, you can catch something different. It's like 3 different movies mixed into one. You know, you can focus on each one of the Spider-Man stories and get a story just for that one. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but you can follow the story of each Spider-Man and have it be its own movie. It's almost like a trilogy inside of a one movie of like knowing the different stories of each character and each one of them being uniquely and significantly impacting for one movie.
I also have to say that
I said too, like I've never anything like that before. Go ahead.
I just have to say the actors have been very would the term be reverent? Like they're very humble about it. So like Jamie Foxx and all of these people that had surprise quote unquote cameos or whatever are just very respectable of the story that's being told, and they would be open to coming back in the future. They love the story that's told, and they have nothing but just the most positive things to say. And I know that a critical thinker would say, oh, they're actors, that's what they do. That's not what they do. A lot of times these people talk nothing but shit when they're done. And for people like Jamie Foxx and Tobey Maguire and all of these idiots, when they're done, to just be super thankful for being a part and hoping for more, I think that there's a bigger thing in motion here. Now, you see in the post-credit scene that we're going into that weird world that Ken knows a lot about, way more than me, which is the Tom Hardy sort of world. And I don't know where it's going to go, but I'll tell you, for what I did know, it was wildly fun. It blew my daughter's mind. She cried every freaking time she saw it.
Oh,
it is
I
her
cried
favorite.
3 times, I think, during the film.
I cried 5 times, and it's funny you guys bring that, because that's exactly the next point I wanted to bring up. Is the first time I literally got tears in my eyes. Like, I don't think you would expect it. And it's incredibly powerful, because this is despite watching the trailers. The first time I got emotional is when Doc Ock's claws came in and he appeared on the screen and it was like, hello, Peter. And I knew it was coming. But
that's awesome.
There was something
so awesome.
oddly emotional seeing Alfred Molina return in this role, because I mean, Lance knows, like, we saw Spider-Man 2 in theaters so many times, it's stupid. So the fact that after all this time, after all these years, like this phenomenal Spider-Man movie that's no longer canon, like matters, like more than matters. And like, here we are again, you know, and like, how long has it been? You know, I'm in my 30s now, you know, and here he is. Like, that is absolutely incredible. Like, and I never gave a crap about Dr. Octopus, but he did so good. Like, he is like, as Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
Agreed.
Alfred Molina is Dr. Octopus, and there will never be another person who just brings such depth to that role, and it makes you care. And like, I always thought he was such a stupid character, and like, I would cosplay Doc Ock because of him and his performance and like how good it was. And like, that was the first time I got emotional in No Way Home.
It's a fantastic story. I don't disagree. I think it's great.
There's go ahead.
There's a lot of moments that are just like, it's gonna make you cry, you know. As soon as what's her name says, with, you know, the line, and you're like, oh, she is gonna, like, as soon as she said it, you're like, she's dead. Great. And it's you just it was well done.
And just the redemption for the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in that moment.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I mean, it's
that
just
was emotional.
Like, he was the one that everybody said, oh, he's the worst of the 3 Spider-Mans.
No.
And I always like people.
I never said that.
Toby's the worst.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying like that.
No, I know. Ken, I'm
like
sorry.
That, he's one of my favorites, and people used to troll me on the fact, like, you think Andrew Garfield's better than Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland? And I go, I think his character, he did the best with what story he had with it.
100%.
And unfortunately, after seeing that movie, it finally came clear to me about what each Spider-Man was. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is the Stan Lee Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man is the Brian Michael Bendis, Mark Bagley Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh, dude, you're the first person I've heard break it down like that. That's awesome. That's a cool point.
And the MCU Spider-Man is Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Each one is a different era's Spider-Man, but they're all their unique thing. And even touched on it in there. It's like, what's an Avenger? They don't have Avengers. Do you know what I mean? Inside of their universes. Is that a rock band? They kind of tweaked it a little bit, but the old man Spider-Man, that is your 1960s Spider-Man. You know, that the hipster Spider-Man, that's your Mark Bagley and Brian Michael Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man. And of course, the Tom Holland Spider-Man was one designed specifically to be in the MCU universe. And that's why Andrew Garfield unfortunately lost his role as Spider-Man.
I'll also say this is the first time I've actually thought that Tom Holland was a good actor. I know that everybody thought, that sounds mean. That sounds mean. Hold on a second. Like, this solidified that he's a good actor. How about that? I've seen moments of him before, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's great." I'm like, "Eh," and then this one, I'm like, "Nope, that's a skill level masterclass of what he did when May died." So I will say this solidified. Nope, he's a good actor. He has the ability to be a good actor. Yeah. So I felt like a hater, and now I'm like, nope, I'm not. I'm on board now. I get him.
Yeah, I mean, like the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie was underwhelming, but I thought he was fine. You know, he was good in Civil War and stuff. I see what you're saying, but gosh, I think we've been so lucky with Spider-Man. You know, like I know this is probably a controversial opinion, but unlike Batman, there have been so many flops, you know, as to who's playing Batman.
Oh my,
Tobey Maguire's is the only one who's been a bad Spider-Man, even though he's done good Spider-Man movies, you know? Yeah, fight me on it. Tobey Maguire is the worst Spider-Man.
I won't fight
I don't even care.
Believe me, I got Blade's back.
Sucks.
I think he's the worst.
Andrew Garfield was phenomenal, and so is Tom Holland. And the Tobey Maguire movies were good in spite of Tobey Maguire. I don't even care.
I don't mean to derail this, but because of how great Tom Holland was in this film and how much money it made, how happy are the studios for Uncharted that they have a movie coming out with Tom Holland? They must be like, oh, sweet. I'm so happy that this kid just blew it out of the water.
It's going to bomb anyway. I don't even think it matters.
It is. It's going to tank. Yeah,
it's going to bomb.
That's sad.
It is. Sarah and I had this conversation earlier. So it's did it just come out, or it made 40 million, which is half of what it expected to make.
Oh,
that's bad. Yeah.
Which goes to the point, the most successful video game movie in the past 10 years is Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, it's just one of those weird, it's just a weird thing. Maybe it's never meant to be. I just don't, I don't know.
I don't know. I think they have to do, I think when Halo TV series is coming out, I think that is going to be the biggest judgment. I'm not saying it looks good or anything, but that is like, there's certain tiers of video games. There's like, you know, like you have like your A tier, B tier. Uncharted is a huge popular game, but like Halo is generations of people who play video games. And I feel like if it's something like that can't do well, then you're right. Maybe doing video game movies isn't really a thing. So even though it is a TV series.
So I'll bring one up to you that I think is really interesting. And that is The Last of Us, which is one of the biggest games of literally of all time, right? They are making the show for HBO right now, which is the most expensive series of all time. It is double as much as any series of Game of Thrones. It is made by Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin. And the cast obviously has Pedro Pascal playing Joel and Bella Ramsey playing Ellie. Now, this is interesting to me because Lance, I would have totally agreed with you. It's a telltale sign games don't work. This is being made by the people that made Chernobyl, which is arguably to me one of the best things that's ever been put on TV ever. They don't skimp. They want storytelling just in its raw form. And this, I think that is going to be the telltale sign if it works. Because if it works, then the money equals the thing. If not, then it's a massive flop because you cannot spend double the amount of Game of Thrones on a video game zombie show and then have it fail. So I don't know if you guys are into it or not. I know you guys don't like the game. You're not into horror games.
I actually think the game's great. Like it was a phenomenal game. Yeah. I don't know if that's a good risk. Like as far as like,
it's a
I
massive
get it
risk.
if you're like, you know, look how good The Walking Dead did, but at the same time, like isn't a lot of people kind of sick of zombie stuff? Like,
everybody is.
Like,
That's
are we
my
just
point.
beating a dead horse at this point, and you're going to do it from a video game? And there was so much controversy about the storytelling of the Last of Us that they made.
Yeah, this is my point.
Is this really what we're doing? I don't know.
I could not agree with you more. I was sick of zombies when the last one came out. I was sick of them before, but it's if you tell it in a good way, the story of The Last of Us is fantastic.
Oh,
it's
100%.
brilliant. It's masterclass in storytelling. So I can't.
But you're bringing up the key point to all this is like you guys have played the games and you understand and respect and love the story. And I'm assuming some of the characters or one character or the characters, whatever the truth is. But isn't that the problem with the ones that flopped, is that they're not understanding the characters in the story and they're changing too many things to, quote, make it work for the movie, and they're not believing in the essence of the source material? Like, I mean, isn't that the problem with the bad comic book movies, for example? I mean, like, look what Marvel has accomplished recently. Like, we're coming off of the golden age of blockbuster filmmaking because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and companies are trying to replicate this, you know. I mean, like DC, Universal with their Monsters universe, you know, all of these franchises have the ability to do it, but like they need to have the heart of the characters and the source material, you know, in mind. Like, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. You have to do it how it was. With some minor tweaks is fine. I think to keep people, like, I think what was great about Marvel, and as far as comic book fans going to see the movie, was you kept the core and you changed certain things so that way we didn't know what was coming, because it would almost be boring if you're like, oh, I know what's going to happen next, and then it would just be kind of like, I knew that was going to happen. Whereas they kind of took some little twists, but they still kept the core element, the origin of the character, whatever it was, that kept the character like proper, but you just gave it a little twist to the story, which was fine. They just need to figure that out when it comes to these video games.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I bet we're gonna have some flops still. You know, I don't know.
Oh my god, I think it's I think it's gonna be a future of flops. I think that's kind of how it's gonna go. It's gonna be once in a while you're gonna get a good hit. To me, that's how it seems.
One thing that kind of excited me, Blade, is something that you just you were talking about with the Spider-Man, how you were like, man, when Spider-Man came out, right, with Doc Ock, how old were you? It was like, what were you, like,
what
10?
year was that? I don't
know. Maybe
like
I was 10. I don't think
2004
really?
For Spider-Man 2. So I was
Spider-Man 2. Okay, so you were older.
14.
Okay.
Oh no.
No, you're older than that.
Okay, so 15? Spider-Man 2 is really that what it was?
Was it 2004? Is it that?
Because number 1 came out 2002.
No, I know.
Did
I know that.
Oh, maybe it was 2004. Anyway, doesn't matter, right?
Or 2004, 5.
18. You jump 18 years in the future, and you go back to boom.
Yeah, 2004. Kim was right.
There's, of course, he is. He's always right.
Sorry.
There's Doc Ock, right? How awesome would it be to get, you know, if they do it right, if they don't drop the ball on introducing the X-Men, which they still might, right?
They're definitely.
But if they could, but regardless, but if they do it right, it should be something similar to the Spider-Man, where, you know, maybe Magneto or Professor X comes in and you hear him talking, and it would just give you the chills.
Wait, can I stop you right there real quick? Did you watch the Doctor Strange trailer?
No.
What is this?
So that's apparent.
I kind of feel like this is a prerequisite for being on this show, Lance. Why don't you mute yourself for 3 minutes? Go watch the trailer.
Okay, so let
There's a specific voice you'll love, Lance. Will freak you out, dude.
So I'm writing down this time marker. Lance, you go watch that right now. So we stopped recording real quick, and Lance has now watched the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness Super Bowl trailer.
I have two things. One,
Lance's crystal ball was right, even though it was.
Yeah, I guess, kind of.
Yeah.
I think I agree with, because you guys mentioned it, Steve and Ken. I don't know if I believe it, because it's just like the side of kind of like a bald guy's head, maybe, right? 2, I don't know if I buy the Ultron people walking him.
Okay.
Is that supposed to be like Ultron sentries?
So
and if that's true, if that's true, then this all has to just do with the What If TV series and the Ultron escapes. He got into different multiverses, and this is just some of his that escaped that went into this multiverse that obviously didn't get destroyed because they didn't destroy them all. They just destroyed like the main guy, and they somehow took it over. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's like another Ultron or something crazy. But I think I kind of nailed it though.
Well,
Yes.
it's
You did.
that's funny. It's obviously it's the Illuminati, right?
Right.
The craziest thing here is, coming off of Spider-Man No Way Home, obviously, we all see like the rumors and the leaks, right? And one of the most disappointing parts about Spider-Man No Way Home is a lot of these leaks turned out to be true. And I think that really sucks. Obviously, I think we're still in the midst of that because just a couple of months ago, I saw what was allegedly leaked concept art of Doctor Strange in handcuffs being escorted by Ultron sentries to Patrick Stewart's Professor X.
Ooh.
Now, the moment that they stuck him in those handcuffs, because me, I don't care. I hate everything. I was watching it on mute while I was doing something else, and I saw him get handcuffed, and I was like, wait a second. Is this that leaked concept art? And he started getting escorted by sentries, and I was like, no, this is real. And then Patrick Stewart rolled up, and I was like, unbelievable. So here we are again with these things coming true. So Lance is now listening to his baby monitor, and I really want him to hear this. That potentially means that there's another rumor that's true, and Lance is going to be so mad. You guys ready for this? That's going to be so
my God.
mad.
I'm not joking around. I am on the edge of my freaking seat for whatever
Lance is going to be so mad. If the Illuminati is in it, and if some of these rumors are true, there's supposed to be another version of Iron Man in the multiverse played by Tom Cruise because he was originally up for the role of Iron Man before it went to Robert. Lance is leaving.
Wait. Am I just way too mainstream to think that sounds awesome?
No,
Am
What?
I'm sorry. Is that I would love to see
What a
another-
garbage actor to play freaking Iron Man. What is Iron Man? Was he gonna have stilts? He's 5'3". He's gonna be Iron Man.
Just like, hey, give me your opinion again on Wolverine. Hey, give me your opinion on Wolverine again. Yeah,
I don't care. Tom Cruise.
Shut up.
Is not Iron Man. It's like
I
a
agree.
joke. It's a joke. That's a joke. Like there's plenty of other people. You could have picked literally half of the rest of Hollywood.
Yeah, okay, maybe, but don't say he's
Cruise.
a garbage actor. Tom Cruise is freaking fantastic.
I'm over exaggerating. Okay,
so your thing is because he's a short dude.
No. I just think that's ridiculous, and it takes away. Like it's distracting.
It is distracting.
Like you're gonna see it, and you're gonna literally like laugh. Like, yes, oh my gosh, it's Tom Cruise.
Now
Iron
hold
Man.
on a second.
Freaking break.
I love Tom Cruise. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, you love Top Gun. You like the volleyball scene? Yeah, it's really.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? I love the sweatiness, but you are absolutely right. It's a distraction.
Yeah, it's
the only thing people are going to be talking about is that, and it's going to be a massive. And I don't think they're going to make. I don't think they're going to make that mistake. I don't think that they will. That is too egregious of an error for them to make. For that, I don't think Tom Cruise is a bad Iron Man. I genuinely don't think outside of no one's as good as Downey Jr. Everyone, shut up! Don't start yelling at me, Blade and Lance. I'm saying I think he's a great actor, and he could have done a good job in his own way. But no, this is not the time. That ship has sailed. That's gone. It would not work to be him.
I want to know what.
Can I make a bad
A-list?
Yeah.
Can I make a bad point that's kind of relevant though?
Whatever
we have an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. We have a Tom Holland Spider-Man. We have a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. They're all different actors. They're all from different universes. They all have different experiences. So having Tom Cruise play Iron Man from a different reality, as long as it's not Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man, is not that big of a deal because they open that Pandora's box in Spider-Man.
I'm fine with it as long as it's like 5 seconds and then maybe he dies or he just doesn't ever I don't ever see him again. Outside that, absolutely not.
I agree with all of you guys at the same time, but I will say I think whether you love it or hate it, we should be able to find comfort, at least in the fact that there are infinite number of universes with infinite possibilities, and that means that X amount of them, Iron Man looks like Tom Cruise, and that sucks. But I mean, there's an alternate universe where Iron Man looks like each of us too, right? So it's just sort of nebulous. So that's all I'm going to defend it, because I do agree that I would absolutely hate to see Tom Cruise as Iron Man.
I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him.
I just don't want it to be a thing. Literally anyone else that's in Hollywood that's not a tier or is taller than 5'3", like it's just like he's just
John
not
Krasinski.
Because
sure, but I think that's
okay,
a waste. That's a waste to me. That's a waste of a good actor who you could play in a role that's not going to be distracting. Like he could be.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like a waste.
You're hitting on the right point. Distracting to me is the key point, which is why you can't have someone that prolific in a role. John Krasinski, I think, could absolutely be a fantastic role in the MCU. People have been saying that he should be Mr. Fantastic.
Well, the rumor is
that
one of the rumors for
his own Fantastic Four.
Well, one of the rumors for this movie is he's going to make his debut as Mr. Fantastic in the Illuminati.
Yeah, and if that's the case, Lance, is that okay?
That's great. That's awesome.
Okay, so all right, well then we're on the same page. I'm a Tom Cruise apologist because I absolutely love the actor, but I agree with all of you. It would be so weird.
So
it would be so off-putting.
Is it that weird though? That's what I'm saying too. Is it that weird, or is it just because his name is not Tony Stark?
Oh, did he cut off for you guys?
I don't know what he said. I just
there he is. What you say?
Is it because it's Tom Cruise, or is it because, do you know what I mean? It's just you just don't see him as Tony Stark. He can't be Tony Stark, or is it just, you know, what's the problem with Tom Cruise being Tony Stark?
I don't have a problem. I think today I have a problem with it. He is way too big of an actor to come through and be the new Tony Stark, and for people to acknowledge the film for its part. All people are going to talk about is that Tom Cruise is the new one. He's too big. He's the number one actor of all time. He is number one today living.
But I don't think it's going to go forward after this movie, though.
It's not. If he is exactly. If he's Iron Man in this movie, we're talking about the Multiverse of Madness. He's just from a different universe, and that would be it.
Lance, I mean, Ken, I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan. Huge. I will apologize for everything that he's ever done that no one likes. I don't like it. I don't know why. If he was Tony Stark from the original one, different story. But now I think he's just I like the way you said it, Blade. Just a distraction.
No,
because no one else is going to focus on the movie. I'm sorry. Am I making sense? I
know. I
know.
He's too big of a name.
I knew Lance was
too high profile for it.
You. I mean, yes, absolutely, Ken. Like he is a little high profile. I think this could be a one-off thing, but here's the thing. Like we know the comics. We know what's possibly coming up. I mean, like this multiverse thing. It's going to span movies and TV shows, and it already has, right? Like we saw it first in Scarlet Witch, right? And it's going to keep going and going and going here. We see it in Spider-Man. We see it in Doctor Strange. And What If? I didn't watch it, but I have an idea. But here's the problem now. Tom Cruise shows up as Iron Man in Doctor Strange, right? We know / assume that Robert Downey Jr. is done, right? I feel like this is going to be a huge build up to like a Secret War Battle World multi-universe kind of amalgamation. And then I think in that case, they will use Tom Cruise again to be the Iron Man within the Secret War. And I think that sucks because we could have had Robert Downey Jr. in Secret War.
The only way it doesn't suck is if he just gets like he just blows up. And it's just like,
see, did I not tell you guys he was going to be so
Iron
mad?
Man everywhere? Like then it would be like, okay, well,
you
I
mean
kind of
like
was worth it.
When Brad Pitt was in Deadpool 2 for half of a second when he flew into the high tension wire?
Oh
my gosh! That's fine.
Oh my gosh!
Fine.
So Ken, we cut him off, but he was about to ask, who would you like to see Tom Cruise play within the MCU? And I have an answer. It kind of relates to this, like Brad Pitt playing Vanisher or whoever it was in Deadpool. I would like to see Tom Cruise show up in Deadpool. And if you read the 97, 98 run of Deadpool, Joe Kelly started that run, and I forget who started writing it toward the end there. But he ends up getting like
Agent X.
What?
Agent X story.
Right before that, I think. He gets, or after. Anyway, he gets like a curse or something put on him, and when he takes off his mask, they changed his name, but they said like, "Oh, you look like Thom Cruise," but Tom Cruise is spelled Thom Cruise, and like he's like the sexy guy. So Tom Cruise should play Tom Cruise Deadpool when he gets changed into Tom Cruise. That's where Tom Cruise belongs in the MCU, right? Come on, that's great.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is actually pretty good.
Tom Cruise can just play himself. Like that's enough.
And I don't think we're done with Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man. Everyone thought we're done with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and everyone thought we're done with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I think we're done
Robert
with him.
Downey Jr. will do that.
I think we're done
with
Downey
done
Jr.
with it completely.
Let's see.
Just not even making like a special appearance in a movie like Secret Wars or anything like that.
I know that Downey Jr. left Disney on the highest of their echelon. Like no one has left with a more professional. They won't shut the hell up. In every press conference that they have, they reference him. Like when they do the stockholders meetings, they still reference like, oh, you're not going to Downey Jr. this. They're that in love with the character. So I don't disagree with you that I think he's gone. I think that for the better of the role, he's not coming back. The only thing I could ever see him coming back is if he was a hologram, sort of like he's, hey, press this button on his, Spider-Man goes, hey, remember, do this, that kind of crap. Other than that, I don't think he's coming back. But I do like how you guys brought up the Tom Cruise thing in an alternate world. I don't disagree with that. I don't think Downey Jr. is ever coming back. And if they did, I think it would be scraping the bottom of the barrel. And I think that they may do that, though. The future of the Disney MCU is hanging by a thread because the viewership for Eternals and Shang-Chi is so small and the early traction for Marvels is so bad that they are right now, and you can Google this, they're recasting people and doing reshoots to try to get this thing on track. I think that the future of the MCU is way up in the air. I call this.
You guys can go back to whatever episode Nightcap Chat. I said some of these movies are going to bomb and they're going to have to stop because they're putting out too much stuff and they're going to pivot.
So
these are going to bomb.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth's contract is over after this next one. They are begging for him to stay on for another 6 movies because they can't. I don't think that they can pull it forward without the core group being there. I don't think it's there yet. What they did on Disney Plus is, I know you guys don't agree. I think it's good, not fantastic, but I don't know if an Anthony Mackie Captain America is going to really put asses in the seats. It was too hard of a buildup. I like Anthony Mackie and I love his role. I just don't know if it's going to put the same asses in the seats. And I'll be this guy. I'll say it right now. It has nothing to do with race. It has to do with the storytelling aspect. I thought that it was deployed poorly and not even really bad. I just think that the MCU is going to see a shakeup. So they will go back to the barrel and get some OG people back to bring it back because I don't think you can do it the way it is now. I think they're doomed.
Lucky for them, they're, doing multiverses and you can easily just kill half of the people who are not doing it and just start over without starting over,
It takes a clever screenwriter.
It does, but they definitely can do it.
They just proved it.
It's more than that. It's good. It's good writing, good storytelling, and it's more importantly, it's being true to the original characters, not making up and changing things that don't need to be made up or changed. Once they get back to the basics, they will start being successful again. And Spider-Man No Way Home is it proves that to be true, I think, and because of the way these things are performing, they just got to get back to good storytelling that is true to the original essence of these characters,
Yep, I agree. Well, I see a really big world that they can deal with. Like Lance just said, as soon as you touch the multiverse, then now it's kind of open. And if you guys ever listen back to anything I've ever said, is I'm nervous about the multiverse because it puts everything super fragile. You know, could it fail? Sure. And then you go right back to a different multiverse. It's the same reason why I hate everyone with a fake face. I hate the Mission Impossible movies because if you think you've chased the right guy the whole time, and at the end you pull off the face and you realize it was the wrong guy, I kind of feel like that's what's happening here. If it fails, you can always just say it's the multiverse. We'll go back to this other one. It's Secret War. That's my
Secret Invasion.
You guys heard me say that. Secret Invasion.
Sorry.
And I don't like it, but I guess that's where they're going. And I guess for a studio, it's a safe route, but you got to take a safe route when all of their stuff right now is bombing. And I mean, you can't any longer blame it on COVID. Spider-Man crushed in the box office. Number 6
Spider-Man
all time. Not just MCU, all time.
100%.
So you can't just say that it's COVID that made people not see Shang-Chi or the Eternals. No, it's because they were not wildly fantastic films, and you're not going to be able to rely on them. They have to go back to the core group. This is a side topic. I'm sorry, I'm keyed up right now.
No, yeah, I'm right there with you, Steve, and I completely agree. Hopefully, a couple more bombs will set things, in motion to be back on track again. Ken, you look like you really want to say
Is it unfair to compare Spider-Man to the Eternals, though, and to Shang-Chi?
Yeah, it is fair because Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy did phenomenal. No one gave two whatevers about the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they performed just as well as the box office. They were trying to replicate that success, and it failed. And the numbers prove that. And you can no longer say it's a COVID thing because we have Spider-Man at number 6 or number 2 or number 3 or whatever it is of all time. And that's evidence. I mean, what more?
I mean, I just think at the end of the day,
comparison for sure, and all that stuff.
What?
But Spider-Man's just at a whole different level of. A fan base compared to those. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, well then, what about Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy?
The what? Yeah, that's I say totally fair because Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy are at that same level of popularity, I would say, of Eternals and Shang-Chi. Like Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi, I would say for sure. And then Guardians and Eternals at the same level. But Spider-Man, you had all 3 Spider-Mans together in the same movie. You had 3 generations of Spider-Man fans all going to see this movie. It's kind of like, I would compare Spider-Man to Star Wars.
But it's not comparing. It's not comparing Spider-Man to Eternals. It's the Marvel movies. And the MCU has a reputation. We've been going strong since 2008. They bombed because they suck. Yeah. That's the general consensus.
I think the point really is that Spider-Man was probably, if you look at all the other Spider-Man movies, this Spider-Man movie was probably they were saying, hey, if this does good, this movie should be an easy $1 billion movie.
Absolutely.
When you look at movies like Shang-Chi and Eternals, those movies, they're not expecting that. No. And it should never do that. But it's a Marvel film. And just like the first Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange and even Ant-Man, which I can't believe that I can't believe we're getting 3 Ant-Man movies. Forget about we even have ever had one. No disrespect to Ant-Man, but come on. But those movies were all phenomenal. And they all made $500, $600, $700 million the first time they showed up. But these other films, they just didn't even come remotely close, and they were just making
Black
excuses.
Widow too.
Yeah. Black Widow as well, yeah.
Which
I think the point is, you got to hit those marks, and as the Marvel franchise, if you're not coming even within 20% of those numbers, then it's just a fail, and it's not showing good signs. And I also think it shows. More Marvel fans, when you mess with their stuff,
characters,
look at the Fantastic Four movies, they just won't go. They say, you don't get my money. Sure, the MCU does have somewhat of a following, but it's not strong enough that it is for the Marvel comic fans to keep them afloat. They have way too much power when it comes to, you're going to mess with my product, I'm just not going to support it.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I've been doing. Sorry, go on, Ken.
With Shang-Chi and Eternals, I don't think they're aimed at us. That's the problem. They're not aimed at comic fans.
Oh, yeah.
They're aimed at their MCU story. Their MCU story needs to be moved forward with these movies, and those movies are just setting something up that is part of their bigger picture, just like the Thor, God and Thunder. Not a major part of the MCU fan base or us as comic fans, but it did its part to set up something that was coming down the road.
But there's
And
but
that
there's
was setting up the Avengers Endgame. And unfortunately, Eternals and Shang-Chi are not the best of the movies that they put out, but it's part of their puzzle pieces of what they're building on with the Disney Plus TV shows, with the Disney movies. Like even the whole Spider-Man, the last one of Spider-Man, bringing Daredevil into the MCU. You know what I mean? And then inside of a Hawkeye TV series, bringing D'Onofrio Kingpin back into the picture again. It's like they're putting puzzle pieces together for what they're coming to down the road. And maybe the Eternals are going to be the road to mutants, because obviously they showed the Eternals impacted different parts in human history. And so that's maybe something their big games, like we need something that's going to give us mutants. And if that's the Eternals, then that's what that role plays.
You know, and
I'm not saying that's how it's going to happen, but that could be a puzzle piece we just don't know yet.
That's fine. That's great. And that may all be true.
Doesn't make the movie good. It's there.
But we just had 20 or whatever, how many 20 movies that prove that you can do a good movie and do good storytelling that's true to the comics and also set up puzzle pieces without sacrificing good storytelling and good characters and good movies. Like they do know how to do it, but they didn't. And the box office numbers, and there's a small percentage of people that disagree, and that's fine, but the numbers don't lie. And
they don't lie. The review, I know you guys hate reviewers and you hate the critics, but they don't lie either. And it is the lowest rated Marvel film of all time. And a lot of people say it's the runtime and blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. But it is what it is. You just have to move forward and keep going forward.
You can't blame runtimes when some of the greatest films of all time are like 3 hours long.
Dude, believe me, thank you for saying that. I completely agree. I saw the funny. It's not the time for that. I just agree.
I see what you're saying, though, Steve. It's just not a good story. It's not a good story.
Well said, Ken. If it's not a good story, then it's not going to play. But you do have to have good people playing those characters. And if it does mean that Tom Cruise has to come in, I know you guys aren't going to be happy about it. I'll be freaking pumped.
Are we gonna have time to do?
I like to see how it plays out. That's how I've been on everything. It's like
my next one is really short. If you care, super short.
I haven't even gone yet.
Oh shit! Yeah, you haven't gone yet.
And both of mine are really short because
mine are really short. My last one
because I don't watch anything. And like to your guys' point, like Marvel fans, like if you're not delivering, like I'm not gonna watch it. The only movie I've seen since Black Widow, which sucked. And I love Black Widow, and she's my favorite MCU character, and I hate that movie. And I love Taskmaster, and they ruined that character too, so I don't even know what's happening. Like, I don't watch any of the Disney Plus shows. I watched WandaVision and 1 or 2 episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I stopped. Like, I just gave up because it's just all so bad. I'm waiting for Marvel to come back and start doing good stuff again because they're just not delivering. I'm so not excited for any of the stuff that's coming up. And that's my horrible segue into I've watched Frasier like 3 times now since we've gone off air on our little hiatus. And my gosh, I know I said it, I think, on our last episode, but they just don't make good TV like this anymore. Frasier is just so good, like good 90s television. It's smart, it's funny, the characters are charming, and I'm gonna nobody cares, but while I was Googling something, I realized that Kelsey Grammer announced that they're doing a Frasier sequel series. And nice. I'm freaking out because like I feel like they're gonna blow it, but Kelsey Grammer's producing and stuff, so will it be okay? Like I'm so scared because like I feel like everything is just being ruined today, and I thought I found something that's just like it's old, it's over, it's not going to be ruined. I don't want it to be ruined now. Ken, what are you going to say? Because it's going to be on your network there.
It's funny that you say that because like I started watching Cheers again.
Yes, I was going to watch that next.
Cheers.
Yes,
yeah. Cheers is like it's timeless, dude. I mean, Sam Malone is one thing you should probably like this too, Steve. He was a Red Sox. It's all about Boston inside Cheers. Do you like Cheers?
I do. I also like the Red Sox.
Yeah. I don't know. There's little known facts. Steve loves the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, that's right. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
If you might look behind, we might have a few pennants that could have
maybe a
the
few.
world of Boston. But Cheers, to this day, I mean, the only thing that doesn't hold up to it is the fact of the haircuts and the clothing. Otherwise, I would
That
love
doesn't
to
matter.
see a new reincarnation of Cheers with good actors that live up to as good as Ted Danson and Rhea Perlman and Kelsey Grammer and, you know, Shelley Long and Woody Harrelson and even the old Coach, dude. The Coach, like if you want to, you know, with Peacemaker, you know who reminds me of Coach, Steve?
Yeah.
Isn't Vigilante Coach?
Oh my, well, except for Coach being a sociopath that doesn't have any recollection of what human feelings are like. But yes.
Yes, dude. Like Vigilante reminds me of Coach. Now that I come to think of it.
But you've seen
George
Frasier.
Wendt what?
You've seen Frasier though, right?
Yes, I have seen Frasier. I haven't seen all of them because I was religious to Cheers.
Yeah, I understand.
And like Frasier came on when I didn't have as much time to watch
But
Frasier.
Ken, if
and I
you
wish
like,
I'd seen every episode of Frasier, but I love it.
if you like, there's
Go ahead.
plenty of cameos and stuff throughout the seasons. It's phenomenal. I'm gonna watch Cheers next though. I think.
Technically, Blade, you are Frasier.
Why?
I would love to see you do a radio show where, you
Hello-
just
hello,
talk about
Ken.
helping people
I'm
with some
listening.
of
Oh
their
my God.
ideas and problems.
You
Do you know what I
want
mean?
you want Blade giving psychological advice to people? I'm gonna be honest, Blade. I'm a huge fan of yours. I don't want that at all. I
I
think,
want that. That'll
I
be
just-
gold.
I just
Steve, it'd be
re-
gold.
oh
It'd
my
be golden.
god, an army of Blades would be so bad. There would be no podcast anymore. It would just be dead air.
I think it'd be
Angry.
hilarious because it would just be like, you'd just be shaking your head the whole time, and then someone would
Right.
call
What
in
do you
and like,
mean?
get mad, and he would just go off on a rant.
We
for
would
like
take
an hour.
over the world.
Wait, it would be
We.
legit.
I love how it's a
agree.
we. Like I'm gonna be part of this now.
Oh,
Yes,
Lance,
because
you're
I
a critical
would-
part. You're the whatever his brother is. You're the same guy with the dog. Go, yeah,
Niles!
Niles.
you're
yeah.
Niles. Oh, you are so Niles, bitch. That is you.
I used to
I
watch-
mean, you guys
I
are
used to
living
watch
out
the
the
show when I
real
was a
life
kid all the
version of Frasier, dude.
Oh my goodness. You know, and no, go on.
But Frasier originating out of Cheers. Oh my gosh, dude. I mean, I said too, like that show. I don't know. I don't know what it is, dude. Like both of those shows are timeless shows, no matter what generation you show it to. I mean, yeah, it deals with
Yeah.
like Cheers sometimes deals with some darker, storytelling of like, Sam Malone being a recovering alcoholic. But I didn't think about that when I was a kid. Do you know what I mean? Or the fact of that, he is an nymphomaniac of a bartender and girls just fawn over him. And he used to like kind of womanize women. I didn't think about any of that when I was watching as a kid. It was just, they were wholesome, genuine people that wanted a place where they felt welcome. In fact, a lot of drawn comics is loosely based off of Cheers. And except comics are alcohol, not alcohol.
And
Not alcohol.
and so where
Where
is Drona
everyone
Comics
knows
where
your
everyone knows your
name.
name? Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Oh, you guys are
Oh.
such tools. You started doing the same joke at the same time. I just threw open my mouth a little bit. Oh, that's
I can't believe it. He was like
nauseating.
beating me to it.
Oh, that was horrible. Everyone listening, please re-listen. click the back 30-second button right now if you want to throw up in your mouth because that was
Or hopefully you're
The
not
O'Neill
driving.
brothers just started listening and singing at the same time to the cheer song. Oh,
Do-do-do-do-do.
you guys want to try it again and you key it up? Nope. All right, we'll move on.
Where everybody knows your name.
All right, there we go.
5801 West Glendale Avenue.
Is anyone else watching Cuphead? Because that's the last thing I was going to bring up.
No.
No.
Cuphead, no.
If you have little
Refuse.
kids, Cuphead on Netflix is absolutely brilliant. Lance,
Okay.
put it on your kid. It's so cute. It's like Mickey Mouse.
No, it's not. Isn't that like
Have you
R-rated?
watched it? Shut your face. No, it's not. It's like Mickey Mouse on Disney Plus. It's adorable. Believe me, my nephew who is 3 is loving it. So it's really great.
I don't think I
just-
believe you. I'm gonna stick with
Give it a
Bluey.
shot. I don't care. Give it a shot. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's fantastic. It's clever. The animation is beautiful. It's the number 2 show on Netflix today.
Is
And
it really?
I fucking
That's
wa-
crazy.
And I watched all of them, and it's really cute. And my nephew loves it because it's like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I know.
goofy.
I know it
It's
is like
goofy nonsense.
Can I mention something else kind of positive then? That's at 50
Please
years
do.
and still timeless. I'm kind of surprised it still holds up as well, even after being remastered. Is I really still enjoy watching The Godfather.
Oh,
Did you
well,
guys
of
see The
course.
Godfather? 50 years old this year.
No joke.
And they remastered everything and it looks beautiful, dude. I said too, it's like, oh my gosh, like Al Pacino looks timeless, man. It's like
Like 4K.
I have a hard time recognizing that as a young, Al Pacino. I'm going, how much he's changed. It's crazy seeing about how timeless these movies are, even though it's 50 years old. How many other movies 50 years ago hold up that well?
Yeah, like, and how awesome is it that because they did it with film, we were able to get like such remastered and good quality. And it's kind of a shame because there are other movies that are old that it won't happen to because the company or whoever owns it or whatever, it's not worth it for them to put the money behind it to redo it. But man, I really wish somebody would come in, I don't know, like, an owner of like the Mets, like a billionaire would just be like, I'm going to buy 100 of these movies and we're going to do it in 4K. And it would be just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. Like, what movies would you guys like to see remastered? For today's generation?
Remastered? Not redone. Not remastered. Redone.
No, not remastered. Just like where it's the 4K, same film, but because they touch it up.
Because the way film works, like you're not dealing with pixels. Like you have these shapes imprinted, on the film cells, and you can scan them in at a higher resolution, so you can get 4K.
What they did with The Godfather, what other movies can they do that with? That would be something that would be timeless today. That people would say, "Wow."
Well,
go into the theater and see for the first time. Like Star Wars is obviously another one. And they've already done it with Star Wars. Yeah, and it works great.
But like
I have one, and it's literally happened this week. Actually, it's a weird thing. So Blade and I know Blade and I know that was a weird thing to say. Blade knows I have a PS5 now plugged directly to the TV, so I get direct, actual high def. So I just repurchased Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the 11th time in my life, and putting the disc in and watching it is dramatically different. So if the question is, what do you want to see like updated and redone? Damn, that's a good question, because I just saw my third favorite movie of all time on high def, and it's fantastic. It's beautiful. There's a huge difference, by the way. Huge difference between it's unmistakable between DVD and then 4K. Anyone that thinks that it's minimal, you're wrong. It's
DVD is standard definition. I mean, even HD to 4K is insane. Plus, we're talking 4K HDR now. I specifically bought a PlayStation 5 to play Horizon Forbidden West, which came out last week, and my most anticipated game of this year that's been announced. I've been waiting for this game forever.
I see the ads on TV.
I spent all this money
Sarah
on a PlayStation.
Mention you. Yeah.
I had to buy the stupid bundle. So it came with an extra remote, a charging station, 3 games that I didn't want. So I traded them for Horizon, a $50 gift card. I spent a stupid amount of money on this bundle. But to be fair, it was stuff I was going to buy anyway, except for the games. But I traded them in. Where was I going with that? Oh, so I plug in my PlayStation to my 75-inch HDR 4K Samsung TV, and Steve has the same one, but the bigger version, and he got it for cheaper. And I'm not bitter about it at all.
So
it's okay, Steve. I have the 85-inch.
And Lance did it to me too, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Conversation.
I spent more money on the smaller TV, but anyway, I plugged in my PlayStation, and I got the HDR to work, and my gosh, what a time to be alive. Like the graphics on this giant TV with surround sound, like we're in the future of gaming. Like this game looks so good. It's absolutely incredible. It's incredible. Like next time you guys over, I'm going to show you what this looks like, because it is insane. It's bright. It's dynamic. It's just insane. And I loved the first game so much. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And so far, it's really delivering. I'm 8 to 10 hours deep on it. And I'm barely to whatever the second town is because I keep doing side quests. Like, and I'm not a side quest guy. I just want to burn through the story. Like, Aloy, the main character, is great. It looks great. Like, I don't have enough good things to say. I don't even know what to say without rambling here.
Well, that stopped very abruptly, and
Yeah,
you didn't
because
ramble anymore.
nobody else is playing it.
Well,
or
no,
can
I mean,
appreciate it.
I see the ads all the time, and I downloaded the free version like you told me to do, correct?
Oh yeah, the last game, because there
Yeah,
was
you told me to
yeah.
do that, which was wildly beautiful on the TV, but also I just got to feel like you got to ask me about Amazon purchases, man, because that's where you find all the good deals. You put something in your cart, Blade. Put something in your cart.
Oh,
you get
for the
updated.
TV, yeah.
Yeah, you get updates. It says, "Hey, your price was."
But here's the
decreased by
thing: like the
$400.
TV, I bought it open box, and I got a $200 gift card. I got a
and you
smoking
still got
deal. I got a
you still
smoking
got
deal.
gypped.
Ah,
You still got gypped.
no, I got a smoking deal at the
Dude,
time, the week that I
like,
bought it.
Blade, if it makes you feel better, it replaced my 65 inch. My 65 inch is way better than the 85, but it's in my bedroom now. So,
Well, but
the
you're
85 is a different like 240
Yeah.
versus 120. Like, what are you talking
His-
about?
I don't
just
think
the picture quality is way better.
his
on my-
85
on my
isn't one
I'm
of
a-
the Q90s like us.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now I sound like such. You called me a snob earlier for liking Cuphead, but now I feel bad. That is true. It's all about I think it's when you get over 70 inches, the resolution does significantly
Yeah.
have an impact.
It does
Like,
because you're stretching it out so much.
really
yeah.
matters. It really does. So if you go over a 70-inch TV, I would say you have to go top of the line or just don't do it. Or else you're gonna lose on that. Or else it just looks like an image stretched. You know what I mean? So
I mean, I got the one you sent me.
I have the same one and it looks gorgeous.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't look good. I'm just saying the Sony
Ooh,
I had.
I had a interest. Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a Bravia Sony.
Yeah, I had a very similar one that's up in my bedroom. Oh, this is probably
Yeah, this is kind
Blade.
of
Mark this down. This is one of those ones. That's shocking because the downstairs one, the big one, is dramatically better than
Weird.
the very high res that I had upstairs.
because this
is a
one.
fucking-
Yeah, because
Oh,
the
shit.
Bravia, Bravia I have, it upscales everything and everything. And it's
Just-
like,
Well, TV, they always are upscaling. if
I
they're displaying on a
also
4K.
I had to buy the 4K cable, which is different than a standard HDMI, and that made a world of difference. Like literally
oh yeah,
watching anything, I'm like, oh, there you go. Now I see high def.
Yes.
But the cable's $55 versus 12. So I got the high def one. And if you're streaming, you're never going to get the real one. It's off of
Right.
the PS5. Blade, that's where you see it. When you plug disc in there, it's like, oh, there we go.
yeah. That's why
Money
I
well
have
right there.
I bought a 4K DVD player because I knew streaming it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, it's just not.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted a PlayStation with a disc. I like my discs.
Plugging it in. And at first I thought you were wrong. I'm like, who the fuck has disc anymore? And then when you watch it, I'm like, oh, this is why. Because
Yeah,
Blu-rays look
it's-
pretty as fuck on
It's
here.
great.
You're right. It's a night and day difference. Showing Roger Rabbit 4K download. Oh, it's great. Putting that disc in, night and day difference.
I'm so happy.
I don't
for you
understand
that was
that.
able to be up-resed so well. I think that's awesome.
Are you being a smartass or are you being
No,
serious
I'm
right now?
I'm being sincere. Like I personally don't care about that movie, but I think it's great that you're able to have a modern version of it to really enjoy and not be like, wow, I wish this wasn't so dated, because like that sucks. Like rewatching Frasier season 1 and I think 2, they're it's 1990. We're talking 1993. They stopped using film and they're using like these crappy little tapes, that the quality like pales in comparison. Like you can tell, like all of our TVs are 4K now. You can get cheap 4K TVs,
Yes.
and like it still
You
looks
can't
like
buy
shit no matter
regular
what.
ones. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that sucks. Like when you're like rewatching older things. So like when things get older, like they'll suck and there's no recovering them. But like really old things that were on film, like you guys were saying, can be restored and rescanned in frame by frame and look phenomenal again. So there's a period here, like in like especially like the 80s and 90s, where like there's not going to be recovering these things, and that really sucks.
That is kind of, you're not
It
wrong.
does suck.
Yeah.
Like all these TV shows, like the 80s and 90s TV shows are
Yeah.
going to be lost.
Yeah.
Seinfeld is, we're seeing the best version of Seinfeld that we can ever see.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's amazing. So.
Like old Simpsons
joke.
like
You're-
cartoons and everything too. Then
Yeah.
The only difference with animation, I think it depends on how it's done, because Simpsons, if it's still, I wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons, so I don't know a lot about it. So if it's still drawn, if it's on the cells, you should still be able to scan them in. So maybe old cartoons might be okay
I see,
because
can
you
be.
should be able to scan them, right?
You should,
Yeah.
right?
I guess, I mean, it just depends. So now here's the thing. Those film cells have to still exist. They had to have not gotten rid of them. That's
true.
That's the problem.
I think
They
the
might
biggest thing with the animation, though, wouldn't it be just more of how? Because usually, if you go back and watch them, it's more just the frame rate's kind of weird. Like if you watch the '90s Spider-Man, it seems a little off. Like it seems a little skippy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's just. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that much about scanning in films, but I think it would, for the older ones, it would be more about how much they're using per second.
Yeah,
frames per second.
it does to an extent. So they might be dealing with, because of cost of production, because they're sitting there and drawing, they might have been drawing less frames per second than 24, for example.
Or right,
Yeah,
you know,
that-
and
it's
stretching that out, and that's going to get more apparent the further back you go, like especially like Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. Like you'll see something come on, and then like nothing will be moving maybe except their mouth, because that's how expensive animation was. That's just the evolution of what it was,
But TV shows like Friends and stuff like that, they can never really update.
Exactly. Friends, Seinfeld, like however they exist now is
It's
probably the
it's
best.
stuck as how, which is why it's weird that they can remaster Casablanca, which was shot in 1945. But they can make it look prettier every single year. I don't
Exactly.
quite get it,
What?
but that's how they
Because
do
it's
it.
on
And
film.
because
Yeah.
you can enhance the physical film, and that's how you do it.
Exactly, because
So.
film is not pixels, which is just a set
No,
of
it's
the
on
dots.
an
You can
actual
scan it.
reel.
Exactly.
Yeah, the best part is going through. I can do a whole show on this. The Criterion collection of films goes through and they redo them. Those old films that they
Yeah.
want to do. Those ones you can redo. It's the ones in that middle gap that weren't quite filming on that one that are doomed because you can never do them again
Yeah,
in
and
a
that
better
sucks.
version. You are stuck. It was like literally, it's like recording on a Zune, but then you had an iPod and then whatever. You know what I mean? It was like,
Mhm.
oh, you were stuck on this weird, outdated, bizarro thing. It's bizarre as hell. But yeah, you're not wrong. I it's fun as hell though. I like watching things being updated, and the Criterion collection grows every day with
Mhm.
weird shit that was made in 1920s that gets added in high
Wow.
def.
Oh, you're
That's
absolutely
awesome though.
You can watch Charlie Chaplin today in like 8K, but if you want to watch Seinfeld, guess what? You're stuck.
Yeah.
You're seeing them do their nonsense in whatever
Standard
the hell-
def,
in
which-
standard def
which isn't
pillar
even
box.
standard anymore. Yep.
Yeah,
Which is also another thing I'm rewatching over and over again, by the way.
I feel like you always are rewatching Seinfeld, by the way, which is good for the soul.
Yeah, Seinfeld, Frasier, The Office, and Archer are my current nightly rotation.
I don't know. Archer goes a little bit dark, man.
It does.
I think that's
And
too
you know
dark
what
for
really sucks about that is I've now realized that Archer's been on for so long and it sucked for so long. It now more sucks than it was good because only the first 5 seasons were good.
I don't disagree with you.
It's
I
just-
want
it's
to
just
for
stopped
fun,
being
but
funny.
I can't.
I love
Yeah.
Archer. I was a huge fan, but like season 6, like it just wasn't funny. The coma stuff, it was just irrelevant. And like I watched this last season and I was like, you know what? He's out of the coma. He's a spy. I'm going to watch this whole season. This is the last season and this will be a send off. And it's been a good time. And there were like 2 or 3 episodes left. And they said, we're renewing it for one more season. And I was like, this sucks. I'm done. This is a chore. I'm just I'm not sitting through
Right.
another season of this. Like, it's just what did we say like a few episodes ago? Like, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain with some of these TV shows.
Yep.
This is exactly what happened to Archer. It was hysterical.
Yeah.
And now it's just, I don't know. It's just not.
The writers just take money. They just take and take and take. I have a really good example of this. There was a show on AMC called The Killing, which I will quote the filmmakers because they ended up making a very popular show on HBO, and they had a season written for one season. One. They were like, we're in. It's an AMC series. We're going to do one season. And midway through, they were like, you guys are so good. We need you for a second season. So they caved and they said, okay, we're going to stretch this trope. And it's called you can look it up. It's called The Killing. And it was a very popular show on AMC. It crushed numbers. So they brought it to a second season. After that, the filmmakers literally said, we have nothing else to do. We have no more story to tell. And they were like, no, we're going to triple your salary. And they caved and they did it. And the show tanked. It tanked. They got nobody. And those same people are the ones that made, here you go. You ready for this? True Detective. So they came back and they said, nope, we're done with this. We're going to do the way we want to do it. One season arcs. True Detective. Every season is a different story, blah, blah, blah. But that's Blade, that's to your point. They learned their lesson. They succumbed to the high dollar, like, oh, we want you for a second season and a third. We're going to pay you triple. Keep going, keep going. And there was no story to tell. And they freaking did it. And it sucked.
Yeah.
So then they finally quit and they said, we're only going to do miniseries on HBO. And they're the ones that made True Detective, which won, I think, every award you could possibly get. Is a brilliant series. Well, at least the first season was.
Like, if your story's over, just end
it. Just end it. There's got to be some sort of integrity. If I'm a screenwriter and I have a story, you know what? That's stupid to say. If someone offered me $1 billion to make a second series, I'm obviously going to it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's hard to say that objectively, but if you're hardcore, these guys really were though. And they succumbed to AMC and then they failed and then they said, screw it. We're going back to a one series trope, and they crushed on HBO. So at least good for them. But damn, come on, how much integrity do you have to say no to double salary?
What were you going to say, Ken?
I kind of feel like that. I feel like that's what's happening to a show I've been watching religiously until this next season. I just finished watching. It's in its 4th season now. And I love the first 2 seasons. And the 3rd season decided to go different. Just not as good as the first and 2 seasons, but I want to see it played out because I've watched 4 seasons of it now. And it's Jason Bateman's Ozark.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, good. That's an awesome topic. I know a lot about this show, way more than I should. Mm-hmm. And you're not wrong. He personally has said that he was incentivized to keep it going when he did not want to. And if you don't believe me, you can listen to his podcast, which is called Smartless. It's probably the best podcast out there. It's really, really good. But he has literally said that they incentivize him to keep going. And that's what you just said. The show should have ended.
Exactly what you're talking about, because I'm going, the show's so good, but then it's like, wait a minute, it feels like it's dragging out way too much longer than it needs to now. And I want to see it wrap up because I'm invested, but God, the story's getting so dry now. And it's just kind of going, I don't want to lose interest in the payoff because Jason Bateman's brilliant, in my opinion.
He is. I totally agree. He does. Fantastic filmmaker.
Kind of like up his own shark.
How do you say no to double salary every year, though? It's tough. Unless you're Jason Bateman, who's been literally in the film industry since he was 12. He's never done a day of human work in his life. So for him, I think it would be an easier no. But like Blade, if they said, hey, Nightcap chat, we're going to pick you up for $1 million this season, how are you going to say no to that? It's tough to say no to that.
Yeah.
Shut up. Don't you dare say that you're going to take the high road and say no to $1 million.
I don't know about $1 million, but I know I have turned down things that went against my morals. Absolutely. So it really just depends on the situation. But I think the biggest takeaway here is obviously there's a problem when you start doing storytelling for the money and not for the love of the story and what you're
Well
doing.
said.
You know, that's where the problem is here, and I think that's apparent in many things. But before we turn this into a 2-hour episode here, maybe we should
Sorry,
wrap
guys.
this up. Gosh, it's so great to be back, and I have loved every moment of this episode, and even the moments that you guys won't even be able to listen to. This is Nightcap Chat, where Lance is slapping his face. Nightcap Chat, we became the Nightcap Chat Network on all of our podcast channels because we are now inviting other series, including the Ink and Paint show, which they've got an episode coming out soon, right? Maybe?
Yes, and we're covering some very important topics.
There you go. Nightcap Chat can be found on Instagram and Twitter at Nightcap Chat, all one word, and Nightcap_chat on Instagram. If you do like Nightcap Chat, say that 5 times fast. You know, if you could leave reviews, especially on platforms like iTunes, Google, Amazon, that'll help us out a lot. Share it on social media. Tell your friends about it, because getting those hits, you know, keeps us going, helps us with ad revenue, and all that fun stuff. It helps make it possible, and we appreciate that support. Ken.
Thank you guys for listening. It's been way too long. I thank you all for your patience and listening to the show. And as I said too, it's good to be back with everybody. And you can catch us at Drawn to Comics in downtown Glendale. I'm sure you guys have heard the address on this show maybe a couple times. 5801 West Glendale Avenue in downtown Glendale, and drawntocomics.com on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And thanks you guys for being so supportive of the Nightcap Chat podcast.
I like how you said there's no offense to this. Oh, no offense, you guys. Everybody, we're good. This is a freaking great show, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because Blade doesn't like Cuphead doesn't mean that this isn't a fantastic show.
You can catch me on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Tales of Lance. I just play video games, and people sometimes talk to me about Black Cat and my amazing collection, which I'm going to show. This is one thing I was going to talk about, but I'm not going to be able to because we're getting cut off. This beautiful 9.8 Greg Horn.
Oh my God.
Greg Horn.
Only 25 of these exist in the world, so that is cool.
No freaking way. Seriously?
Yep. But yeah, you can catch cool stuff like that on Tales of Lance on Twitch.
I still owe you a black cat, Lance. I got to find a way for us to get together here. I still have it for you.
Come over next weekend.
I have a present for Steve and Ken, and I haven't seen you guys since Christmas, so still waiting.
Yeah, we still have Sarah's present too. Steve?
You could just follow everything you hear here, because now I'm officially a part of the network, and we are the Ink and Paint show. We have a really big show coming up very soon where we tackle a lot of the stuff we kind of went over tonight, park related, everything Disney, even not Disney. We kind of cover everything. So just make sure you follow Nightcap Chat. You see, Blade, doesn't that feel good? I don't have to fake plugging something else because I always forget how to do it. Just keep it here. Just stay here. Whatever you do. Now, I will tell you, the last episode did go long on the Mandalorian show. I noticed. Which I'm still calling the Mandalorian, even though it's the Boba Fett show, because it kind of turned into Mandalorian. But it's a good episode. It's very good. Good.
That's
anyway.
Good. No, and Ink and Paint's doing good, and I know you guys who subscribe to Nightcap Chat are listening to it because their numbers have been great. So thank you for the support on Ink and Paint. Anything else you wanted to say, Steve?
Oh, good God, no.
Okay,
I'm good. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you all taking the time to listen. We love you. Be safe, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Later, everybody.